Cambridge, Massachusetts. When you hear Cambridge, you think of historical institutions. You think of MIT. You think of Harvard. You think of billion-dollar biotech companies that have spread across the city. And in this city of innovation, amongst these heavyweights, there's this small community that's brought color and culture to the city for decades.
When we think about the neighborhood, we think about Newtown Court and Washington Elms because that was the community where all the families lived and where the art center was.
The Port neighborhood when I was a child was like one giant family.
Newtown Court was my home, my family.
We'd all eat at one person's house. It was just a giant extended family.
I mean, it was amazing growing up there. It was a village.
The way Newtown Court is, it's all very, like all the doors are internal, so there's no streets, like the streets are all around. So it was like a very safe physical environment because you could run and play inside.
The people in the Port are a lot more outgoing. There's a lot more artwork. I think the artwork, the murals, the ground murals is a very important characteristic of the Port that not a lot of other neighborhoods have.
In 1937, this community gave birth to a creative haven for the youth that stood the test of time.
The Art Center was like a space where a lot of the children of these communities came and did different projects.
I started working at the Art Center right out of college in 1985 and worked there for 16 years, so into the early 2000s.
I was the teen media program manager from 1997 until 2002.
I was teen media program director from 2012 to 2017.
I think I joined the Art Center when I was around, I'm gonna say 9 or 10, maybe even a little earlier.
I started when I was 5 years old.
I was around 13 or 14 when I started going to the Community Arts Center through the mayor's program.
I remember very little now about things in general, like what I ate 3 days ago, but I remember everything about the basement. I lived upstairs from the Art Center for years, so it was literally downstairs.
We had everything we needed.
It had rooms all the way down. So it had the performance room. When you come in, there was an office. There were great little nooks. You can kind of go hang out under stairs. But as you kept going, there were all these different rooms, offices, and then you had the clay room. And there was a dark room that was super exciting.
I was teaching black and white photography. They were in the dark room, reeling all their negatives. They're with the trays.
We sort of started off with photography, and Susan Richards was one of my photography teachers, my first for sure. And the kids in the projects fell in love with photography, and later on in time we kind of moved on as technology moved to video and other things.
And I remember going into the Art Center when I first got the job and Susan had hired me. And I came in, coming out of film school at BU, and I was like, we're gonna make these great videos and all that. And then after she hired me, she sat me down, she's like, Joe, this isn't about making videos. I was just like, what? She's like, this is about you becoming, part of these kids' family.
The Art Center is 85 years old, and there's no mistake.
I mean, if you look at the Community Art Center specifically, it's a place that's in the community. It's not the home, it's not the school, it's this middle ground. And it doesn't have those same structures or rules.
You didn't know it then, but in 1996, history was made when a group of teens from the Art Center came together to create something that would change the course of youth filmmaking across the country.
What took you guys so long? Well, we were looking at every movie around here, and none of them were produced by kids. None. Well, if you want to see a movie that's made by kids, you have to do your damn self.
So the Do It Your Damn Self Festival came about because there were a group of us teens. We were entering all the film festivals around Massachusetts we could possibly get into. And the categories for us was just so slim. There were so few things that we could be entered into, and we just felt like we weren't seeing enough representation.
But we had taken two groups of kids, one group to the Soviet Union in 1990, and another group of kids to Warsaw, Poland in 91, to two film festivals. These were all white people. They were Eastern Europeans primarily. but they were exploring issues of resistance and revolution and different things that were going on. And when we came back, it was a few years, right? But we started thinking, could we do this? Could we do a film festival?
We just bet on ourselves. We just decided that with all the odds stacked against us, why not us?
So we decided that we make these type of films. Other youth media programs are making these type of films. They are being produced, but they're not playing on mainstream media. So why don't we provide a platform to share those youth produced films?
We had the best encouragement we possibly could, and we figured it out.
So that's when the elements of the film festival were created.
All the pieces of event planning, of getting submissions, like the National Association of Media Art Centers in the 90s was like the membership organization. And I remember getting their mailing list. And we mailed, literally snail mailed, invitations to it was hundreds of media art centers asking them to submit films. And I remember the first year we got, it was 150 or 200 entries.
Our ancestors came to this country and they were pretty much ripped out of their culture. They couldn't speak their language. They couldn't, they couldn't be themselves. They had to be like what everybody else told them to be.
For the first time, they can take their voice and what it is that they have to say and how they want to reflect on the world, and they can present it to the world.
Hip hop to me is taking something out of nothing. It's taking turntables and making them into instruments in an instant. Hip hop is, using your body to pop and lock and b-boy and do incredible things on the floor. Basically, it's a creative energy.
Just having young people deciding what they wanted to do, setting the tone, executing the plan, and making a festival of this magnitude happen. I thought that was an impressive task for, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds.
2.5 decades and thousands of submissions later, the Do It Your Damn Self Film Festival is still providing young filmmakers from across the globe a platform to share their vision.
The thing about the Art Center was it was really them creating the stories. I just felt I'm gonna let them do what they're gonna do. Just gonna make sure that they have that camera in focus and they're editing properly. But I'm not gonna say the narrative isn't correct, because that's exactly what they have to have their voices there. If it's me, then it's not their story anymore.
The benefit there is they learn agency in a world that isn't often so willing to give them that agency for a lot of reasons.
I look at the cinematography and the composition and how beautiful and how well spaced out a shot is, and then other people the dialogue speaks more to them and the acting speaks more to them.
In seeing the film submissions, I got to see films from teens who actually were yeah, I should do this and I will do this. I mean, I've always wanted to, but I never took any real steps to do it. I made YouTube videos and all that, and I kind of looked at that and I was like, yeah, maybe I can do this too, because other kids like me were doing it.
Our festival was an expression of we need to redefine how we are seen and the way that we're contributing to the images of who we are.
We felt misrepresented in mainstream media.
We just kept seeing, every time we turned on the news, all the after-school specials, all the movies, it was we were all into drugs, we were all stealing, we were all poor, and that we didn't have any ambition. And that was just a load of crap. All of us had ambitions and dreams of being more and doing more, and our parents and our family members and our community aspired for that as well for us, and they encouraged us to go after that. And we wanted to show people that's what's being done. That's what's happening in the inner city.
Mainstream's not gonna do it for us.
We can't wait for somebody else to do this, we have to do it ourselves. That's a kind of common concept, right? And they had to come up with the title of the festival.
Do It Your Damn Self.
I didn't hire actors like that. The director's pay people these days. The director's and
Cut! You're ruining my movie! If you guys think you can do it, so why don't you do it your damn self?
We will do that damn self.
It was an emphasis, and we agreed that this was acceptable. I mean, they weren't saying the F word, but it was the kind of reason people use that kind of language is because they're trying to show their emotion around, this is not okay. The first year of the festival, this kid, he was maybe 13 years old. He interviewed Rosa Parks, and he made a film called Mother of a Movement. And he came, we of course picked his film. He ended up winning the documentary category. And his mother brought him, and it was at the Kendall Square Cinema. That was the first year, 1996. And it was a really big deal for him. Like, he was this kid, he made this film, and he interviewed Rosa Parks. Like, in some ways, it's kind of, when you think about it now, it's remarkable, right? But the fact that we brought him to the Boston area and his film was shown in a movie theater, it mattered that, like, more people were gonna see his film and that he was being recognized.
I always believed in the film festival as being a sort of avenue for young people across the country to really speak their truth and have a voice.
We have a voice too, and so DIYDS is kind of built to represent that and like show what these issues seem like through a teen's perspective.
The young perspective is always nice because it's new. It's always going to be different because it's coming from us, and sometimes that's what the world needs. It needs a younger perspective.
It didn't matter what it looked like or what we would, like the stuff we would have been dealing with, but the magic that happened socially, like the way young people could be safe and be together, it was magical what happened in there.
I think there's a competition from like generation to generation to keep it going. There's a pride to keep it going. The fact that it has lasted this long, I'm not surprised at all.
You know, I'm surprised it's 25 years, quite frankly. I mean, that is impressive in itself.
So today, if there were teens that were part of the program, I would just remind them why we were doing this and that it was super important for us to have a voice, to make sure that we are providing an opportunity for youth to have a voice and be heard.
Today we have like tons of technology and like the means to like make art and just put your ideas out there is so easy. I feel like it's just a waste not to, if you feel like you could.
The longevity of the program should be championed as a success for kids in Cambridge and kids across the country.
Our job is not done. Like, this festival has to stay true to making space for the voices that need to be heard. And it really can't be diluted. That's not what the Art Center stands for. That's not what I think the history of this stands for, and our work is not done.
Since 1996, the Do It Your Damn Self Film Festival has been the longest running youth-curated film festival in the country.
You think about this, small little community center in this small little neighborhood in Cambridge, and it is doing it. Every year it's doing it because it's going to do it.